What if I told you that one of the most critical choke points on Earth is quietly turning into a geopolitical pressure valve that could reshape global trade overnight? And almost no one is paying close enough attention until it's too late. Right now, the narrow waters of the el-Mandeb Strait are becoming one of the most dangerous and strategically contested regions in the world. This isn't just another regional conflict. This is a slow-burning confrontation involving global powers, proxy forces, and a maritime artery that carries a massive portion of the world's trade. And at the center of it all is a group many once underestimated. The Houthi movement, backed directly or indirectly by Iran and armed with increasingly sophisticated missiles and drones, the Houthis have transformed the strategic passage into something far more than just a shipping lane. It's now leverage, a geopolitical lever, one that could influence not just regional stability, but global economics. And here's the part that makes this even more unsettling. This might only be the beginning. To understand why this matters, you need to first understand just how important this narrow strip of water really is. The el-Mandeb Strait connects the Red Sea to the Gulf of Aden, and ultimately to the Indian Ocean. It's one of the few maritime corridors that link Europe to Asia without forcing ships to sail around the entire continent of Africa. Every year, billions of dollars worth of goods pass through here: oil, gas, consumer products, raw materials. Entire supply chains depend on it. If the strait becomes unstable, delayed, or worst case, blocked, the ripple effects would be felt worldwide. Prices rise, shipping slows, economies strain. But what's happening now isn't just instability. It's something more calculated. Multiple international forces, navies from different countries, are now present in the region, attempting to secure shipping lanes and prevent escalation. On paper, this looks like coordination, like stability, but beneath the surface, there's a fragmented control system, different nations, different interests, different rules of engagement. And right in the middle of that complexity, the Houthis have found an opportunity. Because while global powers are trying to manage the situation collectively, the Houthis are operating with a very specific, very focused objective: to exert pressure where it matters most on maritime security. And they've found a way to do it through asymmetric warfare. Instead of traditional naval dominance, they rely on missile strikes, drone attacks, and targeted disruptions. These aren't random acts. They are calculated signals. Messages sent not just to regional adversaries, but to the global community. A single drone over a shipping route. A missile fired near a commercial vessel. A threat issued at the right moment. Each action raises the stakes. Each action reminds the world just how vulnerable this corridor really is. And here's where things start to shift from concerning to strategically alarming. Because the Houthis are not acting in isolation. Behind them, there is a broader network of support, logistical, technological, and strategic. Iran's role, particularly in providing missile and UAV capabilities, has been widely discussed. And whether direct or indirect, that support has significantly enhanced the Houthis' ability to project power beyond what many expected. This transforms the situation entirely, because now the el-Mandeb Strait isn't just a local conflict zone. It becomes part of a much larger geopolitical equation, one that also includes another critical choke point: the Strait of Hormuz. And when you connect those 2 points, you start to see the bigger picture. Together, these 2 straits control a massive portion of global energy flow. Oil shipments, gas exports, lifelines of modern economies. If influence over both can be coordinated, even indirectly, it creates a powerful form of leverage. Not through direct control, but through the constant possibility of disruption. And that possibility alone can move markets. Now here's the question no one is asking loudly enough. What happens if that leverage is actually used? Not fully, not dramatically, but just enough to create uncertainty. Because in global trade, uncertainty is often more damaging than outright closure. Insurance costs rise. Shipping companies reroute. Delays accumulate. Prices fluctuate. And suddenly, a regional conflict starts affecting people thousands of miles away. Fuel prices at your local gas station. The cost of everyday goods. The stability of entire industries. And yet, most people still see this as just another conflict in the Middle East. But what happened next changes how we should be looking at this entirely. As tensions in the Bab el-Mandeb increase, multinational forces have attempted to secure the area. Warships patrol the waters.
Surveillance incréase.
Defensive systems are deployed. On the surface, this seems reassuring. But it also creates a crowded, high-stakes environment where a single miscalculation could escalate rapidly. Because when you have multiple militaries operating in close proximity, with different communication protocols and strategic priorities, the margin for error shrinks. And in that environment, non-state actors like the Houthis don't need to overpower anyone. They just need to disrupt. A single successful strike, a near miss, even a credible threat can trigger a chain reaction. And that's where the real danger lies, not in a full-scale confrontation, but in gradual escalation. Step by step, signal by signal, until suddenly, the situation crosses a threshold no one intended to reach. Now, let's pause for a moment and think about this from a different angle. Why here? Why Bab el-Mandeb? Why not focus entirely on larger, more obvious battlegrounds? The answer is surprisingly strategic. Because choke points are force multipliers. You don't need a massive military to control them. You just need the ability to threaten them. And in doing so, you gain influence far beyond your size. That's exactly what we're seeing unfold. The Houthis, once considered a localized force, are now shaping conversations about global maritime security. And that shift didn't happen overnight. It's the result of years of evolving tactics, external support, and a deep understanding of where pressure points exist in the global system. And here's where things reach a critical turning point. Because as this situation continues to develop, global powers face a difficult dilemma. Do they escalate their presence and risk confrontation? Or do they maintain a defensive posture and risk appearing ineffective? Neither option is simple. Escalation could lead to broader conflict. A direct confrontation with Iran or forces aligned with it would have far-reaching consequences. But restraint carries its own risks, because if disruptions continue, even at a low level, it normalizes instability. It sends a message that this corridor can be contested. And once that perception takes hold, it's very hard to reverse. This is where the story reaches its climax. Because what we're witnessing isn't just a regional power struggle. It's the emergence of a new kind of geopolitical strategy, one that doesn't rely on traditional dominance, but on controlled instability. A strategy where influence is measured not by territory held, but by uncertainty created. And in that context, Bab el-Mandeb becomes more than a strait. It becomes a signal, a warning, a glimpse into how future conflicts might be fought, not through large-scale invasions, but through targeted disruptions of critical systems. Systems that the modern world depends on every single day. So the next time you hear about tensions in distant waters, or a headline about shipping disruptions in the Red Sea, remember this. You're not just hearing about a local conflict. You're witnessing a shift in how power is exercised in the modern world. A shift where small actions can have global consequences, and where control doesn't always mean ownership. Sometimes it just means influence. But the real question is, how far will this go? Will global powers find a way to stabilize the situation before it escalates further? Or are we already seeing the early stages of a much larger transformation in global security? Because if Bab el-Mandeb is any indication, the rules of the game are changing, and the world may not be ready for what comes next. If you found this breakdown insightful, let me know what you think. Could this situation spiral into something bigger, or will it remain contained? And if you want more deep dive analyses like this, make sure to subscribe because the stories shaping the world are often the ones we least expect.